Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Smart Trucking Live. How are you guys all doing out there this afternoon? We're starting a wee bit early, bit of a schedule change. I hope this works well for you guys. We're going to see if it works well for us as well, but good to be here. We'll wait a few minutes, get a chance for more people to join us. Who was I going to talk to there just a second ago? Eric Meyer. Is Weeks Hiring up your way? I think they're always looking for good guys, Eric. I'd give them a call. I imagine they are. They're starting to slow down this time of year. They're a construction company, but they work all winter long, so could well be. Give Darcy a call. I guess he'd be the guy to talk to there. Hope you guys all had a good weekend, a long weekend up here anyway. The weather wasn't too bad, but it's definitely cooling off anyway. So hope you enjoyed it. Got to kick back. It's kind of the last break we'll get, like 3-day weekend break for a little while. So hope it went well for you. Lots of people joining us there. Trucker Hershey, how are you doing? Grilled Mortal, good to see you. Bruce Watson, Kyle Harden, Josh Bomford, Delvin07, say hi. SoCal Sandman, how are you doing? Good to see you. Doc Dewey, all sorts of guys jumping in here. Good to have you all joining us here. Hi to everyone from Philadelphia, PA. That's Kyle. Bet you it's getting kind of cold and crappy in Philadelphia these days right now. Pardon me? Bull Hauler. This, good to see you there. Donovan, hi from Tennessee. Hello from Brampton. That's not too far away. Greetings from Missouri, Bradley. Hi guys, Randy, hello to their drivers. I am from Russia? Askar, wow. That's a hike and a half from here. Bet you it's cold there, colder than...
Read the comment from Bull Hauler.
Where's Bull Hauler here? This channel helped me to be a better trucker than I was. So Smart Trucking, thank you for all the help. Bull Hauler, thank you. Appreciate that very much. Good of you to say so. Kyle says, I just got my CDL in June. Be over the road in about a month. Way to go. Good to see. Hi from Ohio. We've got friends down in Ohio. We got friends all over the place, but a bunch of them in Ohio there, Kenny. Most of them in around Dayton area. How are you guys all doing? Hello from Southwest Kansas. Johnny Peters. Hello, Johnny. James Null, first time. James, I hope you enjoy it. We always have a lot of fun. We chat about this and that and just about everything. Cover a lot of ground. I hope you'll join us regularly. Stay with us. Hello from the Georgia-Tennessee border, Container Guru. That's a cool name, Container Guru. Michael Mueller, what's up from I-85 subscale? Charlotte, North Carolina. Michael, geez, I was just reading about that lawsuit over at Smith Transport with that driver. That's quite the deal, eh? Smith will be sorry they're getting that kind of publicity, but there's one in every crowd, you know. What can you say? Hi from Melbourne, Florida, 25-year driver, Rick Chapman. Hi, Rick.
Rose Jackson.
Rose Jackson, Smart Trucking, love the channel. Been binge watching you from New Zealand. Wow. Thank you, Rose. I appreciate it. Thank you. From New Zealand. You know, I don't like flying, but I'd love to see New Zealand. It's supposed to be gorgeous. It's supposed to be a beautiful country. But it's a long flight from here. Kathy and I went to Hawaii many years ago. And that was a longer flight than I'd ever been on. That was almost too much for me just going to Hawaii, and Hawaii's only like halfway to New Zealand, I think.
Hello from Alaska.
Somebody's in Alaska? I missed that one. Where's that? Alaska's also a long way away. Although I bet you it's fairly nice weather still in Alaska. It's not brutal cold yet. Hello from 20 East in Mississippi, 9-year driver. Michael Hooker. Hello, Michael. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, let's get this show on.
Well, today's live stream chat is we're going to talk about whether they should allow the 18 to 20-year-old drivers down in the States to start running interstate. Now, to take you back a few months, more than a few months, the ATA, one of their bright ideas was to solve the driver shortage, was to recruit younger guys to allow them to run interstate. So whatever the ATA proposes, almost for sure you can bet the FMCSA is going to go along with it, because they're buddies. They're tight together. And the FMCSA really doesn't know anything about trucking, so they rely on the ATA to tell them. The ATA doesn't really care about trucking. The ATA cares about what will make them money. So to help them with the driver shortage, the ATA has suggested this to the FMCSA, who has now announced they're taking comments on a pilot project. Well, with the FMCSA, that means, oh, it's coming. You're just getting ready to brace yourself for it. Remember the pilot project where they wanted to bring Mexican trucks across into the States, and the problem with everybody had with that was that the Mexicans were driving junk. Well, the FMCSA didn't really think that was the case, and the trucks came from Mexico, and they were all junk, and then they had to meet a certain standard to come, and they went back and forth, and this pilot project turned into like a 5-year thing that's still going on. The Mexican trucks are still junk, but the FMCSA just kind of turns their head and looks the other direction and pretend it's not happening. And it's going to be the same thing with this pilot project. They're slowly going to slide it in until everyone's used to it, and then it's just going to be a fact of life. And I got to laugh because who's this latest bureaucrat? What's his name? Wiley Deck. It's an unfortunate name, but Wiley Deck, the latest bureaucrat to head the FMCSA, and he's only been in there a week or two, says safety is always FMCSA's top priority, which is just got to make you laugh right out loud, because they're the ones that balked against having a set seat time for new drivers. The FMCSA is the one that allows driver trainers to train after 2 or 3 months experience. Safety is the last thing on the FMCSA's mind. It's making money or keeping the ATA happy so they can make money and then split it with the FMCSA or whatever they're doing. The ATA should be called the AAM, which is all about money. That's the truth of it. All they do is politically maneuver things to try to get their way so they make more money. And that just burns me up when they pretend to wrap it in the guise of safety, because nothing's further from the truth, and they've proven it time and time again. Now, as to whether it's a good idea for 18 to 20-year-olds run on the highways, there's different sides of that, different issues with that. I know some people feel that there's just basically a maturity issue with an age group like that. They wonder if they're mature enough to be running cross country. Having said that, I know all sorts of guys that were driving cross country when they were that age, myself included, although I wasn't running too much cross country back then, but I certainly could have. I was legal to do that up here in Canada, but in the States they had greater restrictions. But yeah.
Michael Mueller has an interesting comment. Someone should deck Mr. Wiley Deck in the head.
What an unfortunate name. What I could do with that given the time, but yeah, and there was some yes, Kathy.
Just one other comment. Doc Dewey has mentioned a few times. Doc Dewey is part of the pilot project, and he runs OTR at 19 years old. So there you go.
I'd love to know. Obviously, you feel that's going well, or you're in support of that. That's good. I'm glad to hear it's going well. What I worry about, something else I worry about with these guys in this pilot program, is that it's because there's a driver shortage. I'm worried that the ATA companies will use this as a recruiting and entrapment tool for young guys fresh out of high school. And I worry about that. I worry about guys getting locked into a driving career and getting used to making not enough money to survive when they get married. Like it's a good living for a single guy, but once you get a wife and kids, and you're still making the same money, so I worry about their ethics. I just don't trust their ethics. For the young guys that want to run coast to coast, I think it's great. Just keep your head on your shoulders and be safe. Be safe, but it's their motives I worry about. I'm not sure they're doing it for the right reasons. I'm not sure that they do anything for the right reasons. So that's my problem with it. I went through the under 21 program from the FMCSA and was hired right out of Omaha, Doc Dewey says. Well, that's good. I'd love to know how many guys they're hiring for this pilot program too. I'd like to know more about it. I wish they'd publish more about it. Up here in Canada, there are a lot of guys that drive 18 to 20 years old. A lot of the guys in the prairies. Yes, Kathy.
Few people are asking, do you believe that the Secretary of Transportation is doing a good job?
Oh, no. What's Elaine Chow? Are you talking about Elaine Chow?
That's the Secretary of Transportation.
No, look at this protesters blocking the interstates issue. That's her game. That's in her ballpark. That's in her jurisdiction. And she's chosen to do absolutely nothing about it. She's pretending it's not in her jurisdiction. It's absolutely in her jurisdiction, and yet she does nothing. So no, I don't think she's doing a good job. But anyway, back to what I was saying. There are all sorts of young guys up here that drive trucks between 18 and 20. Farmers' kids and kids out in the prairies mostly to move grain and stuff like that around. But it's a whole different ball game in the States because there's so much more traffic down there. So, I worried. I've been driving for over 40 years, and it scares me to go through Chicago in rush hour. So I can't imagine how a young guy would be doing it. But anyway, there's so much to keep track of. So I wonder if the younger guys shouldn't be running interstate for a little bit longer just to gain that extra experience and learn better as to what to expect when they get out running cross country, because it is a whole different ballgame. Half the time, if you're running within your state or your province, you can get home at night, and it's a whole different thing being out in the road. And I don't know. There'll be some guys and girls that'll be just fine at it, and there'll be others that shouldn't be out there yet, in my opinion. And it's just, everyone's different. It's just going to depend on the person.
Michael Thompson, good afternoon. Welcome to the stream, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you very much for the $5 dono. Michael says, need an actual driver running these organizations. 18 to 20 is case dependent. Should be the same with any driver. Young and stupid is dangerous, and I can personally attest to that to be a true fact. So
is old and stupid.
Yeah, and old and stupid is also dangerous, but especially young and stupid is equally dangerous.
Yeah, he kind of touched on something that is a pet peeve of mine. They have all these bureaucrats they put in all these positions, and none of them have any experience in the industry. None of them have ever driven a truck before, and they get rotated out of that position every few years. Then there's somebody new comes in and pretends they know all about trucking and stuff like that. And I just, it's just, our whole system's just a mess that way. I don't know why, but it's big money for the bureaucrats to get the jobs. They sure don't want to lose those jobs to someone that knows what they're talking about. It's a crazy system, so. But
Jonathan Mestrel, good afternoon. Welcome back to the stream. Good to see you're here. Good to see the regulars here on a frequent basis. Thank you very much for the $10 dono. He says, I think people need more experience behind the wheel of a car, let alone a truck. He actually brings up a point that we were talking about just before we started the stream, and we all agreed that this was a big factor, that maturity is probably the biggest problem at the younger ages. the majority of a bunch of young people just aren't ready for the responsibility of what being a truck driver is.
And it is a huge responsibility. The truck weighs 80,000 pounds. It's worth a couple $100,000. God knows what the cargo could be worth. But those things are just like rolling weapons, and you put them in traffic, and you can't trust the four-wheelers to do the right thing. So it's an awful lot of responsibility. And it's interesting to note too that when we're talking about the level of maturity, it's been proven scientifically that 18-year-old girls are more mentally mature than 18-year-old boys. So maybe they should be promoting girls into those positions faster than boys. I don't know. But I don't know. I guess they're going to do it no matter what. They're going to do it no matter what. So you just have to hope for the best. But that's a crazy way to run an industry. Toss it out and hope for the best.
I just want to touch on real quick here. This is basically what Michael Thompson was saying earlier. Frank Nickel made a comment that he has two sons and he would let one of them drive and the other one he would kick him out of the truck. So kind of just goes to show that it really is a case-by-case basis when it comes to that age group.
Yeah, everybody's different. Kids are all different. So how do you call it, you know? But if I had to make a blanket rule, if I was the FMCSA, I wouldn't have done this. And, you know, they're only doing it to help the ATA with their driver shortage. But I think if the FMCSA was truly concerned with safety, and here the statistics are coming out now, the deaths for truck drivers are increasing rapidly in the last couple of years. They went up like 13% since 2018. So here you've got an era that's just peaking now for truck driving accidents, more truck driving accidents and deaths than any time in the last 30 years. And this is the time they choose to introduce a whole group of new young drivers into the fold. Does that sound logical to you? Yes, Kathy.
Don't say that, please.
Kelly Patterson, brings up a really good point. At the age of 18 to 20, you can't even rent a car because you're considered too high risk.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. And I'd read somewhere earlier too, someone else had said that, you know, the argument is, well, at 18 they're old enough to go off to war, so they should be allowed to drive a truck. And it was a woman, I believe, and she said, you know what, I don't think they should be able to go off to war at 18 either. And I agree with that. So, you know, they've got plenty of time left. There's no need to jump into cross-country trucking at 18 years old, fresh out of high school. And I know I saw someone comment that they are recruiting in the high schools already. And yes, they are, but I don't know. One thing for a young single guy, but get locked into a trucking career and you're, you know, 35 or 40 years old with 3 kids and you want a house and you're married and stuff like that, you may feel you've made the wrong move there. But I would have come to trucking sooner if I could have at 18 or 19. Yep, I jumped into it as soon as I possibly could. I know the feeling. But it's not for everyone. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, a lot more experience in cars even is better than no experience at all when it comes to driving truck. And that's why they have trouble with some of these fellows from overseas. Half of them never drove at all over there, and then they come in here and plant them in a truck. And I understand they need to make a living, but holy cow, that's like death by fire. That type of thing. Putting a guy that's just learning to drive and putting him in a semi. You know, experience is everything in driving. Experience is everything. Mary agrees with me anyway. Thank you, Mary. The driver shortage is a myth, and they want kids that deal with the BS to keep the freight moving. That's from Craig Beats. And you know what? A lot of guys say, well, it's, you know, the driver shortage. There really is no driver shortage. there's a shortage of people that will work for poor wages that the ATA companies offer. That's the problem. There's all sorts of really good drivers out there that just won't drive a truck anymore because the money's not good enough. So the driver shortage is a myth as it is. It's just, this is how the ATA, this is their latest trick on how to solve that problem, to get kids that have been in school that want their first job and get them in a truck and hopefully keep them for as long as they can.
SoCal Sandman actually has a good point too. He mentions that studies have shown that their brains are still developing up into the mid to late 20s.
Huh.
And that's an excellent point.
Yeah, good point too. That's exactly right. Your decision-making process at 18 or 19 years old even is different than that same process when you're 29, for instance, is what he's saying, and he's absolutely right. I couldn't have said it better. Mary says, keep the kids at home till they're 21.
Where they belong.
In Utah, you can haul turnpikes at age 18. Anything non-has. I know a 19-year-old hauling turnpike pneumatics. I've seen him drive his Honda, and he's scary. He says it's scary. Yeah.
Michael Thompson, thank you once again for the $5 dono. I was a USMC NCO, and the level of micromanaging you had to give to junior guys is insane. Direct action to direct response. You can't be doing that in a truck.
Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting point. Yeah, there's no arguing with that either. I believe Michael completely on that. SoCal Sandman started driving at age 30. Now that surprises me. I had the impression that you'd been in it before that even, but nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Sometimes I wish I'd waited that long, but no, at least then you've got a mature individual behind the wheel. There's a big plus for that. I had a 24-year-old that said that handicapped truck drivers should be able to drive. You know, I don't even want to get into that. Yeah, I don't know what to, I don't know anything about how they can equip those people to drive. I know a lot of them do. Kathy, Mary's asking, how do I donate?
Yeah, we'll get that figured out.
Jonathan Mestrel, thank you for the $10 dono. Imagine an 18-year-old kid fresh out of school in blinding whiteout in Wyoming. I don't see this kid slowing down to wander at a safe speed, most likely going to try and hammer down past the other truck. It's a reasonable point.
Yeah, that's exactly one of the situations you'd have to worry about in a situation like that. is how a young kid would react in a situation like that. Would he panic? Would he keep a cool head and take his foot out of it? Would he try to thrash right through and get on the other side of it? It's one of the many examples. Or even the distraction level. It's pretty easy for a guy that's been driving for a while know that he's got to keep his attention focused on the road. But when you're an 18-year-old guy or a 19-year-old guy, a lot of the time you're just you're playing with your cell phone. You're tempted to watch a movie on your phone or something like that. It's just there are issues with young drivers. There's no doubt about it. And we have statistical proof of that. Look at the accident rate of the young drivers as compared to older drivers, just in the four-wheelers alone. That's why the insurance rate for young drivers is so much higher than an older driver. And you wonder now if they're going to allow 18 to 20-year-olds to run interstate, what will that do to the insurance rates for us in trucking? Well, you know it'll drive the insurance rates up. And you also know they'll spread that increase among the entire industry, and everybody's insurance rates will go up just so the ATA can have some more young drivers behind the wheel. Everybody will pay for that. And there's another problem I have with it. Hopefully the insurance companies will go, nope, not good enough. Got to be 21. Here in Canada, when I was young, you could get the license as soon as you turned 16, which I did. But the provinces, the insurance companies wouldn't grant insurance to drivers until they were 25 years old. And I thought that was kind of a good way to control it. You just couldn't get insurance.
Dave needs some water.
Yeah, I'm having a rough time. I better have another water here.
That's not water in that bottle, you guys.
It most certainly is water. It most certainly is. It's far too early in the day to be having a drink of anything else other than
It's
water.
happy hour at Smart Trucking.
Oh, gosh. Benjamin, hello, big strappers, and greetings to Dave and Miss Catherine, too. Thank you, Benjamin. Greetings to you. Most ages 18 to 20 CDLs are intrastate. You can't leave your state, and you can't haul hazmat, cargo, or passengers. Well, and that's the way it's been, and that's what they're trying to change, and that's what I'm having a problem with too. And there's another good issue you raised there, Extreme Snipe. Hazmat. Are you going to allow them to haul hazmat across state lines?
Part of your CDL.
You know, it's another good question, and it's funny. Fuel. If you're hauling fuel, that's considered hazmat. All sorts of trucks run, deliver to gas stations and bulk stations. That's hazmat. Are you going to let an 18-year-old loose with a trailer full of that stuff? Man, something to think about. SoCal Sandman, I'm 57. I still got a few years on you. I got more than a few years on you. I wish I was 57 again. I wish I was 37 again.
Anthony, read that one.
Hey there, Shannon. Shannon, how are you doing?
D'Anthony Mitchell, give us youngsters a chance. We love hitting the road as much as y'all older fellows do too. Good grief. I don't know about that.
I appreciate what you're saying. We're just worrying about you, that's all. I'm sure you guys will be fine that go and do it. Just keep your head about you and don't rush. And most of all, don't let the carriers push you into doing stuff you're not comfortable with doing. And they will try. And that's something else I worry about, is because you're so subject to being bullied by dispatchers and carriers into making bad decisions, and you just can't let that happen. And that's going to be really tough when you're 18 years old, standing your ground against a 40-year-old dispatcher that's telling you got to do it, and you've got to be able to stand up and say, no, it's not safe, I'm not comfortable, and I'm not doing it. And because you're the captain of the ship. When you've got the license and you've got the truck, you're the captain of the ship. But everyone tries to push you around, and that's especially tough on an 18-year-old. Most insurance companies won't cover you till you're 23, says Container Guru. Well, I hope they maintain that. What makes 53 doubles more dangerous than B trains? Mike Rummel. Crosswinds and low distribution on icy roads. It's 53 footers doubles, especially if they're vans. They've got enough surface area to sail a container ship with sails. Those things are so big. So most B trains aren't typically freight boxes. Most B trains are like fuel tankers or flatbeds. But if you're talking 53 doubles that are vans, that's a hell of a surface area in a crosswind on an icy road. That's what makes it more dangerous in my opinion, Mike. Big Josh, I used to pull hazmat cylinders for air gas. There's no way you can put an 18 or 20-year-old behind the wheel of that load. Yeah, I hear you there, Big Josh. Makes you worry, doesn't it? Are 1-ton trucks as good for trucking? 1-ton trucks aren't even trucks. They're toy trucks. Those aren't real trucks. No, yeah. Here's Shannon. No way to separate them, but country kids would probably do well because they've been running this stuff on the ranch and have a work ethic. And there's no better way to say that. They're more comfortable and familiar with heavy equipment. That's true. That's true all day long. And that's why up here in Canada, in the western provinces, they're allowed to do that all the time up here. And that's why, because they've already got experience and practice with it. But it's different in Saskatchewan or Wyoming, in Shannon's case, than maybe in California, for instance. I started driving at 10 and got my drivers at 16, my semi at 41, and have 20 years driving a semi now, Randy. Wow, started driving at 10? On backcountry roads, I'm assuming. I'm trying to. I couldn't even tell you when my dad let me started driving, but it was on backcountry roads and stuff. I think I was older than 10 though. They need more training to get your CDL. I think it's way too easy to get the CDL with very little experience and be let loose. Yeah, Andrew, I'm getting the feeling that it is kind of too easy to get your CDL anymore, especially. They don't mandate your seat time in the States for when you get your CDL. It's just how much class time you've got. And you don't learn to drive a truck sitting in a classroom. But that's you can thank the ATA for that one too.
Jonathan, once again, I say this a lot throughout the stream, but thank you once again for the $5 dono. He says, how many of you guys would trust your family's life in the hands of a kid in adverse weather? Your family's life could potentially be in their hands. Yeah.
Jonathan, thank you for the donation, but more than that, thank you for the excellent point. And it's not all sunshine and dry roads out there, and we don't all live in southern Arizona. And that 18 to 20-year-old with the CDL can drive in the Northwest states. He can drive in the freezing rain across Montana. There are no restrictions, and that's just gotta worry you. Those are tough conditions for an experienced driver to manage, let alone an 18-year-old. Bradley says it's scary when a young person pulls up next to you on a car, let alone the semi-truck. Yes. Shannon, did you get all the cold we had? Got 8 inches here in Casper. 80 was closed for a day. Yeah, I read about that. No, we didn't get anything like that here, Shannon. And we got the broadcast, though, that you guys were getting snow out there. But no, it kind of got cold and rainy, but nothing like what you guys got. And that seems early. And I was laughing. I'm not laughing, really, but amused that Colorado gets their chain laws in effect September 1st. And I was thinking at the time, man, that's kind of early for that, but there you go. Not necessarily, huh? I am 20 years old and I have my CDL. I run local B train for a small company, and I have no issues and can put trailers places my trainer couldn't put them, and he has 30 years. Yep, Ryan, and I believe you all day long, because some guys just have a feel for this stuff, and it sounds like you're one of them. And I always found B trains way more versatile. I could back those things in anywhere. I have found them easier to back up than a 53, for instance. But yeah, there are guys out there, Ryan, that just have the touch and are just natural drivers, and I imagine that's what you are there.
Hamish K, thank you very much for the £5. Didn't recognize the conversion at first. He says he's good to be here. I hope you're enjoying the stream and the quality content that comes along with it.
Thank you, Hamish. Appreciate it. He's in Britain, I believe, right?
He is.
Yeah, yeah. We've spoken before. Good to hear from you.
And Tim Bobber 1, thank you. Thank you very much for the $5 dono as well. Hope you're enjoying the stream.
Grilled Mortal. I drove a 66 Oldsmobile on Daytona Beach when I was 4. Wow. That would be a fun story. But you could drive on the beaches down there back then. I don't know if you still can. They still let you drive on them now. Maybe for bike week and stuff like that, you're allowed to do that now. I don't know still. My first driving lesson was a 1902 McCormick tractor with a plow on the back. Michael Mueller. Yep, that's driving. But farm kids have a huge advantage when it comes to driving in all sorts of situations, just because they've got the equipment to play with when they're young, and they've got the supervision from their dad or their uncle or whoever. Yeah, those guys are way ahead when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Linksy Zeus says, I'm 19 and I will soon have my CDL.
Nothing wrong with that. It's a great license to have and hold. It's a good ticket to have. You'll always be able to use it whenever you want to. There's always going to be work in trucking, but just because you have it doesn't mean you have to go to work in trucking. You can use it for all sorts of stuff. But man, the local delivery guys that get paid by the hour make more than the interstate drivers half the time. So, and they're home every night, and they're not spending money on the road. So, you can always use your CDL to work local, and sometimes that's the best money there is. It's the best quality of living there can be too. Sometimes.
Extreme Snipe says, Dave, I thought about a CDL rather, and I'm on the fence. I've Googled, asked troopers, and done tons of research. I don't know if this is the path that I want.
There's no harm in trying it. That's the only way to find out, I think, is to try it. You don't have to stick with it if you don't like it, but you might find you love it too. And I loved it right off, and I stuck with it for over 40 years. So to be fair to yourself, I think you should try it anyway. I think everybody should try it, but it's not for everybody, but it absolutely is for some people.
I have a question then, since we're talking about age of drivers. What does everyone think the ideal age should be for folks to get a CDL? Do you think 21 is the right age? 25? 18? What's the general consensus and what you think would be the best age, if you had the choice to decide?
Yeah, that's a good question. What would be the ideal age? I'm trying to think how I'd answer that one, but
Well, what would it be?
like, well, I think to run cross country in the States, I think it should be at least 21 and maybe 25 to run cross country in the States. Just my opinion. Having said that, man, when I was 18, I couldn't wait to get out there. Here's Doc Dewey. As far as I'm aware, there are only 5 of us in the FMCSA pilot project who are 18 to 20 interstate. That's a pretty small project, or pilot project, really. Well, I have to keep track of that if you can, Doc. See if I'd love to know, if that number grows, or how they're doing it, how they're tracking it. What kind of information have they given you? Are they just basically watching to see if you have an accident or a ticket, or like what are they tracking with you anyway? I'd love to know. I just trust those guys to do it right. Not at all at the FMCSA. So I'm curious.
Hamish K, thank you for another £5 there. He says he's 23 and he wants to get a long hood Pete or Kenworth instead of a stupid Volvo.
I like this guy, man. You're absolutely right, Hamish. You're on the right track. It's I could go into my Volvo rant right now, but it's kind of like a Tupperware truck. It looks like a Tupperware truck, don't you think? Curb sniffer. No, I'll go for the long hood Pete or the Kenworth. But if you're in Great Britain I don't know how you're going to make it around some of those corners. You're going to have to be a hell of a driver. They got some tight corners over there. I've seen England and Scotland and Ireland, and man, some of those roads are pretty narrow and small. So maybe just tell them you just don't want to take the trailer with you, Hamish. You'll just bobtail around. That's the best way to get around the corners up there.
Linksy Zeus has a question. I'm wondering if his CDL is the same as a Class 1 driving license in Quebec, Canada. And yes, the answer is yes, it is the same.
Yes. And you know what? Up here, they used to be like a Class A, and then they changed it to a Class 1. And I don't know what the point of that was. And yeah, it's the same as having a CDL in the States.
Chicago Typewriter mentions it's not the age, Dave, it's the fact that young people don't know how to work nowadays, period.
Ooh. I hope that's not true across the board. I'm sure that there must be some young people out there that do want to work, but we are seeing that trend. We are seeing that. Yeah, and Kathy points out we know a lot of older people that are lazy coots too. So she might be directing that at me. I'm not sure.
In fact, I'm sitting across from one right now. Jonathan Mestrel, thank you once again for the $5 donation. Sorry, I haven't read your comment yet, so I'm going to have to get a second here. Imagine how many kids are going to get sunk into prime lease programs with the promise of big bucks, and independence in quotation marks.
And Jonathan, that's exactly the type of thing that I'm worried about right there, because these big trucking companies, like Prime especially, they will just suck people in, and they'll lose their shirts, and because it's a racket. It's a racket. There's not an honest bone in their bodies in some of these carriers. And they're just, they've got their freight rate so low, they're just determined to make money off their drivers. And that's exactly what I worry about. An 18-year-old being able to stand up and say, hey, you know what, that's not right, or I'm not working here because you're cheating me, or, I'm not taking that load because it's unsafe, or I'm not running on the ice just because your customer has a schedule. It's that kind of stuff that just worries me.
Hamish K has a comment. 21 to 25 is a great age to run cross country. Yes, I'd say leaning more toward 25 years old. And Michael Mueller also has a comment. Leave it to Michael. What about a long hood Volvo? Does that count?
I have a mental picture of a long hood Volvo, and
not pretty.
It is possibly the ugliest truck you could imagine, a long hood Volvo. You'd have that thing sniffing the curb on the other side of the highway. Oh. You're distracting me, Michael. I'm supposed to be concentrating here. The
Real Big John Trucking. I can attest to Prime. I basically work there for free when I work there.
We hear that from so many people. I don't understand how Prime keeps attracting people. Now, having said that, I've heard from some of their company guys that get paid, as company drivers, not as contractors, that say they do very well there, and that's good.
And their training school has a good reputation.
And Kathy points out their training school has a good reputation at Prime. But there are so many guys that lose their shirts over there with this contractor crap or this lease operator crap. They just scare the heck out of me. How can you trust a guy that lives in a house that's bigger than the same size as the White House? 17 bathrooms, and there's only 2 of them in there. That guy doesn't need all that money. Why isn't he shelling some more out to the drivers instead of hoarding it for himself to try to be king of Missouri? No, I don't trust that guy at all.
Michael Thompson, once again, thank you for the $5 dono. He says there's no ideal age in his opinion. The interview and training process should be a weeding out process per se to separate the bright from the not so much. As for the point about waiting till you're 25, that leaves vets that get out after a hitch.
Yeah, I agree. It should be oh, like a training program of sorts, or a temperance program of sorts, just something to give you experience and help weed out the guys that are really going to excel at as compared to the guys that just would rather be somewhere else anyway and don't pay attention when they're looking at the windshield.
Chicago typewriter comments, you're absolutely right, Dave. Dispatchers are counting on the new drivers' ignorance. I was told to haul hazmat, and I didn't even have the endorsement.
Yep, they'll do anything. They just don't care. They just need to move the load, and they don't care if you have to drag it down to the highway with your teeth. That's all they care about. And that's not right, but that's the way it is. Trucking can be a dirty, dirty business. And you've got to be able to protect yourself because no one else will help you with that. And that's these young people, I worry about them being strong enough mentally to be able to say no and knowing what is a good thing, a safe thing to do, and what is not. Isn't Volvo owned by the Chinese now? Yes, I believe it is. I'm not sure what percentage of Volvo is, but yes, the Chinese definitely have a large stake in Volvo now.
I just wanted to point this comment out because I thought it was a good talking point. Danny Boy 96 says he doesn't understand why people bash companies that younger guys work at. The companies gave them a chance to start somewhere.
And that's true. That's true. I'll give you that. But just
They hired them because they needed them.
yeah, exactly. They hired them because they needed them. They didn't hire the young drivers to do them a favor. Yeah, it's to their advantage that they hired them. So don't ever think they were just being nice guys. That's long gone, that stuff. There's Grilled Merle's still laughing about the long hood Volvo. Me too.
Zach makes a comment, I'm 22 and my experience training is something they need to work more on, for sure. I've been driving for a little over a year and they want me to be a trainer, but I declined because I'm still learning.
Yeah, a wise decision. A wise decision. I think the industry should concentrate one whole hell of a lot more on training than they do. I can't believe some of the guys they've let loose on the highways now on the roads. But it's highly inadequate. It's highly inadequate. And up here we had a horrendous accident. That was like a year and a half ago now out in Saskatchewan. Oh, just brutal. And it was just, the guy had absolutely no training at all. He wasn't, he just didn't know any better, and he killed 13 people and crippled 16 others or something like that. It's so easy to do with a vehicle that weighs what a tractor trailer does. It's just, the more training, the better. And I'm not talking classroom training. All these trucking companies are hung up on classroom training because it's cheap to do. You learn virtually nothing. You already know what a stop sign means and what a yield sign means, and that's what they're teaching you in class. You've got to get out and drive the things, and you've got to drive them and drive them and drive them and be with a mentor and pick up stuff from them. And I don't mean a mentor that's got 3 months experience either, but they're just nuts these days. And then they wonder why the death toll on the highways is as high as it is, and they just shrug their shoulders and go, "Oh, I don't know." Now their latest thing is they recognize, the ATA recognizes that the death rate in truck drivers is way up. They don't want to accept that it was coincided exactly with the introduction of the ELD. They don't want to accept that at all. But what they want now is to have more onboard safety devices like automatic braking and automatic lane indicators and stuff like this. And they're just going to rely completely on automated tools to try to keep the truck from having a wreck. And it's just the completely wrong thing to do. You need to have the drivers trained to keep the trucks on the road, not rely on these driver assist systems. That's crazy, but that's their latest idea. That's what they want to do. But they're just out in left field.
Michael Thompson, once again, thank you for the $5 donation. We bash some starters because not all starting companies are the same. And Jonathan Mestral, thank you as well for the $5 donation. Dave, he wants to know, is today the day that we raffle off the old girl I assume he means your Pete.
Yeah, not
I
me.
just want that thing as a relic.
Oh, that's
Beautiful
fine.
truck that ran
really
off
nice.
camera.
No one had
with
thought of
lens
that
cam.
except you.
Did everybody hear what you read?
Jonathan wants to raffle off my truck. What's your bid, Jonathan?
$5?
No. Start north of 60 grand, and we're talking. I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
You don't have the time.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Busy man.
yeah. I'm a busy man. Shouldn't the industry turn to trainers having at least 20 years experience, Nick? Yes, they absolutely should. But the problem that they have is there are very few people out there anymore with 20 years experience that want to train. They just want to get in their time and get home. And you know, I can understand that, but and the other problem is that the wages are so low that a lot of senior guys with lots of experience have gotten out of trucking. So that's why they can't find guys with a ton of experience to train. Those two reasons right there. Just they've gone completely backwards and unsafe about it. That's why I laugh about the FMCSA, this wily deck saying it's all about safety. It's not remotely about safety.
Michael Mueller says that 18-year-olds are cheap labor.
That was my point.
Yeah, it's Michael Mueller, cheap labor. That's right, and they're taking advantage of those young guys. So I don't know, but I don't see it changing anytime soon. Lowering the speed limit governed at 62 miles an hour. I don't even know if most company trucks, I think, are governed now these days anyway. But if you do 62 miles an hour through a school zone, the governing hasn't helped the cause at all. It's the driver that controls the safety factor. It's not the equipment. It's the driver that's got to control it. Hamish says, "Keep the Pete." Yeah, I think I will.
Yeah, we could have an auction. We could have an online auction.
Jeez, my poor truck. Oh, I'm trying to think of the quote that I read not too long ago from a woman with like 4 million miles experience, excellent driver. I wish I could remember her name off the top of my head, but she said it's the driver that makes the company safe, not the other way around. And she's absolutely right. She said, you know, I that's a great quote, but it's the driver that makes the company safe, and that's the truth of it all.
I gotta read this one. Trucker Hershey comments, those 20-year-old guys who want to train and have to keep telling the kids to pull their damn pants up. The ones that
Man, I saw a kid like that today, and I thought that had kind of gone by the wayside. I thought that fashion statement had come and gone, but I saw a kid like that today in Walmart, I think it was.
To be fair, you will probably find people of all ages with pants around their ankles at Walmart. But
Wow.
anyways.
Wow,
All right,
Nick makes a good point there, and he's speaking from experience. He worked for Walmart for a while, so he knows.
Several years, longest years of my life. That's what really puts hair on your chest right there. All right. Michael Thompson, once again, thank you very much for the $5 donation. Says, show me 5 drivers at a company with 20 years plus experience, still willing to train on a regular basis. I'm training now because they aren't there.
That's a fair statement.
No, that's right. They're not there. And when I look at the carriers that I worked with over the years to see if any of my friends were still there, left working there, none of them are. On any of the carriers that I work for, they've all left. They've all gone to drive, bulldozers, or they're retired. Or they didn't stick around.
Doc Dewey, thank you very much for the $10 donation. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying this stream. He says he'll be happy to send you the details as he is a participant in a pilot program. He wants to get in contact with us some way, and also he wants to know if he can buy the Pete.
Yes, you can.
To both questions.
I guess my truck is sold to Doc Dewey. Oh well.
The first bidder.
But yeah, please, Doc, keep us posted on all that stuff. I'd really be interested in knowing what being part of this pilot project entails. They want cameras in the truck that reads the speed limit signs and adjusts the speed of the truck. Really? I hadn't even heard of that, Michael. Is that right? I know they've got all sorts of fancy devices they want to introduce. The one that scares me is the automatic braking system. Like, can you imagine if that road surface isn't dry and the truck decides to tap the brakes when you're on a curve and the road is slippery? That would be all it would take to wreck. And that's the type of stuff they want to introduce as a safety feature? Like, man, I tell you, what are they thinking? They're not thinking.
Doc Dewey, we put the email address down in the comments for you to get a hold of at your own leisure there. All right, chat. It's about that time now. We'll take about 5 more minutes of questions, and then we'll wrap it up for the day.
Can we just ban the flip-flops in trucking as well as pulling up the pants? I think we should, Justin. I'm with you, man. Absolutely.
Demand Wilson, what are good starting companies for new CDL holders? I will type a link to an article, a post on our website that will point you in that direction.
Hamish says, might start with Maverick or GP Transco. Good choices, Hamish. Good choices, both of them. I'm curious on your opinion on Wilson Logistics. I lease operate there, and I feel they do very well with their lease program. Lucas. You know more than me, Lucas. If you're happy there and it's working for you, all the power to you. I hate the automatic braking system. My truck tried to slam on the brakes going under a bridge the other day. Yeah, Killjoy's trucking. And that happens. I've talked to other guys that have had that happen. How in God's green earth that's a safety feature is beyond me. But bureaucrats don't drive trucks, so they don't understand that. And they won't listen to those that do drive trucks. They're too good for it. They know too much. Hummer Trucking out of Iowa is a good one. Geez, you know what? They were good too. I remember seeing those guys around.
Tell them about this week's video. What was the topic of this week, the title?
This week's video will be 5 things they don't teach you in truck driving school.
Could you say that again clearly?
5 things they don't teach you in truck driving school. Friday at 10 a.m.'s upload. That's our video for the week. You'll see that Friday at 10 come on, so guys, tune in for that, please. Those automatic braking systems react to railroad tracks. Chicago typewriter. Boy, I bet you that'd be scary. There's something wrong with taking the ability to manage the equipment away from the driver. And it's the same with these autonomous trucks too. Like, whose goofy idea is that? JB Hunt have cameras that read the speed signs, says Poid News. Is that right? I know they've got some amazing stuff out there now. What was it that guy was talking the other day? Oh, there was a guy on YouTube the other day saying that there was a camera in his truck that if it monitored his head position. So if his head wasn't pointing out the windshield, if it was looking down on his lap as he was texting or something like that, the camera detected that, and the office called him. And I thought, I didn't even know such a thing existed. I thought, that's pretty cool. And you know what? I can see the value in that too. Because why wouldn't the guy be looking out the windshield as to where he was going? But, lots of guys are distracted easily. But that's kind of a good safety feature. I like that one. I think that's good. Nothing wrong with that one.
Johnny K says probably our first point in this Friday's video, which is going to be about what they don't teach you in CDL school, is our first point should be what they don't teach you is how to drive. Couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, that about sums it up.
All right, chat, that about does it for our live stream today. I want to thank everyone coming this afternoon. Hopefully this earlier time works out for everyone. We think we're going to start doing them closer to just before dinner time, probably 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time. I also want to give a special thank you to Michael Thompson, Jonathan Mestrel, Hamish K, Tim Bobber, and I have one more, Doc Dewey. Thank you for all our super chat donations. It really makes a lot and keeps us motivated to do these streams that we like doing anyways because we have a ton of fun doing them. So Dave, anything else to add on to that before we wrap it up for this afternoon?
Nope, just love chatting with you guys. Thanks for all joining in. We appreciate it. We love talking with you. Take care, keep the rubber side down, and we'll see you on the back haul.